Taxi, weekdays at 5:30 on Channel 12.
It streaks across the heavens once every 76 years. It's been a wonder, a terror, a mystery. It's Halley's Comet, and it's here. Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline. Tonight, we'll be doing something that couldn't be done the last time Halley's Comet came around. We'll take a magnified view of the phenomenon as it races toward Earth. Our guests, astronomers Carl Sagan and Richard Berenson.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
First, the matter of pronunciation. It is not Halley. Bill Haley and the Comets made up a rock group during the 1950s. Nor, according to surviving members of the family, is it Halley. The family, and it's their name after all, pronounces it Halley. It is Halley's Comet not because Edmund Halley spotted it first. He didn't. But Halley calculated that the comet made regular appearances every 75 to 76 years. And indeed it did, and does. This time around, the comet will be more closely scrutinized than ever before. What you're looking at right now are some of the most recent pictures, but they are merely an appetizer for what is to come. Because even now, 5 spacecraft, 2 Soviet, 2 Japanese, and 1 from the European Space Agency, are streaking toward a rendezvous with Halley's Comet. That in itself, as Jay Shadler now reports, is something that could hardly have been imagined the last time that Halley's Comet made an appearance.
It was the spring of 1910, and Comet Halley was coming. Back then, Ursus Baker hadn't yet met Millie Mills. Their wedding day was still 15 years in the future. For Ursus, evenings were spent at his grandfather's grocery store outside Dayton, Ohio.
Suddenly the front door burst open, and my 20-year-old uncle, Will Kreitzer, come tearing in there, big eyes like this, and scared to death, screaming as the world's coming to an end. Just, if you don't believe it, come outside and look.
5,000 miles away, Anthi Chakiris was a 9-year-old girl living with her parents in Istanbul, Turkey.
Everybody's scared, and I was scared too. I saw something come out from the heaven, big, large, huge, with a beautiful tail.
And during that same year, Esther Baird turned 7 in Donaldson's Crossroads, Pennsylvania. There'd be tea parties with her friends that summer, but right now her father was calling from the front porch.
And we came out and looked at it. No, it was over there. It was just a beautiful sight. We never forgot it.
Like a celestial ribbon tying together the generations, Halley's Comet has embroidered the last 2,000 years of history, having been observed and recorded during each of its passages since 240 B.C. Donald Yeomans tracks comets for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena.
Comets have always been misunderstood, feared, really, and gradually the belief developed that comets presaged malefic events, the deaths of princes, disasters, natural disasters, wars.
It wasn't until the 17th century that these mysterious cosmic telegrams were given a return address. Edmund Halley, armed with the mathematics of his friend Isaac Newton, posted an historic prediction for the comet that now bears his name.
If it should return again about the year 1758, candid posterity will not refuse to acknowledge that this was first discovered by an Englishman.
And return it did, presiding over an ever-changing world. 1758, 1835, 1910. Remember?
No TV, not even radio. Only one telephone in town.
No electricity, no gas. My mother used to cook on a coal stove, and our toilets were about a mile away.
We had sheet music, and I remember the picture on the front of the sheet music was a girl, beautiful girl, sitting on the end of the comet's tail.
How do the lyrics go?
It goes, put on your old gray bonnet, come out and see the comet, for it's going to carry us all away. In 1911, we will all go to heaven on the end of the comet's tail.
That year, Halley's tale inspired a mixture of song, superstition, and some questionable science, with a French astronomer boldly but inaccurately predicting that gases from the comet's tail would poison the Earth.
One of the bigger kids said, "Boy, I tell you, if we go through the tail of that comet, we're all going to be dead." And boy, I tell you, that really put a scare into me.
Today, the best comet tales are being swapped by those 1910 eyewitnesses at so-called Halley two-timer gatherings. Again, the comet links the past.
Well, I saw it for about 3 nights. We were down on the Monongahela River in a rowboat. I had a girlfriend down there.
And the future.
You'll be 83 years old.
I'll be pretty old by then.
For the youngest in this next generation of potential Halley two-timers, the comet still made up largely of Elmer's glue and glitter.
Sprinkle time.
But by the 4th grade, it's strictly a matter of particle physics.
Solar wind pushes the gases, and it just makes it...
Though this apparition of Comet Halley is likely to be the worst in 2,000 years, that very first glimpse at nightfall can still spark a faint chorus of old delights.
The tail of Jupiter. But I want to see the comet. Yeah, I know.
But through these young eyes, can Halley ever hope to compete with Armstrong?
It's one small step for man.
Or even Spielberg? Ironically, the answer may lie with the very science and technology that seems to have stripped Halley of some of its old magic. For the first time, Earthlings won't be content to sit at home and watch the show.
We've got 5 spacecraft going out and actually visiting the comet, flying through it, and taking close-up observations. And these spacecraft will tell us exactly the nature of the heart of the comet.
That, of course, will come as a surprise to Anthe, Esther, and Ursus, who still feel Halley's heart belongs to them.
I'll never forget it. Ever. Never.
Jay Shadler for Nightline.
When we return, we'll be joined by Dr. Carl Sagan, noted astronomer and the author of Comet, a history of, I give up, Halley's Comet, and by Dr. Richard Berenson, astronomer and president of American University.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by General Motors.
There are old pilots and bold pilots, but they say there are no old bold pilots.
So, when I buckle up in a cockpit, I'm wearing plenty of life insurance. Now, when you buckle up, you've got $10,000 worth of life insurance at no extra cost. A 1-year life belt certificate from MIC General, the insurance people at GM. Comes with every new GM car or light truck. See your GM dealer for details. Then, buckle your life belt.
As I stated before, this proves that the future...
People work wonders when they work together. Across the country, Honeywell is working with law enforcement officials, where special Honeywell systems are helping the right people, helping them get to the right place at the right time to get evidence before it's covered up. The Honeywell system then speeds the prosecutors to court. With Honeywell, justice is swift. Working together works. Honeywell, together we can find the answers.
Go on to Caldor.
I need a new blender.
Oh, fine.
It'll take 2 seconds. A glass one.
Glass.
White. And don't pay more than...
Okay.
Caldor also has Revere's 11-piece cookware set, just $69.99 with rebate. The Heat and Strip paint removing gun from Black & Decker for only $24, and Proctor's Continuous Clean toaster oven broiler for $35.70 after rebate.
On sale.
Where's my change?
You'll never not find it at Caldor.
Superb jewelry that tells superb time.
The Longines 1000.
Oh, what's the sheer luxury on your wrist?
The feel of gold and silk.
The Longines 1000 delivers hairline Swiss quartz accuracy. It is water resistant, but most of all, this is superb jewelry, and it makes a great gift.
Oh, I was hoping for a Longines.
The Longines 1000 for men and women. Superb.
Was the salt removed from a trusted baby formula because the company thought it was better for the children's health?
or simply because the company wanted to save money tomorrow on World News Tonight.
Tomorrow, 10,000 comet watchers from all around the world will gather here in Washington at the National Air and Space Museum. The main speaker for the symposium, one of the world's foremost astronomers, Dr. Carl Sagan. And I should point out, incidentally, that Dr. Sagan's book, Comet, is co-authored by his wife, Anne Grian. My apologies for neglecting to point that out before. Dr. Sagan joins us live in our Washington bureau. And joining us from Hartford, Connecticut, astronomer and science historian Dr. Richard Berenson, who has co-authored 3 books on astronomy and whose areas of expertise include the search for extraterrestrial life, part of which he hopes to find in his other job as president of the American University here in Washington. Let me ask you, Dr. Berenson, we've looked at some of those most recent pictures. I got to tell you, I'm unimpressed. That little blob up there in the sky doesn't look like much. It's not even a first-rate star. Why are we so excited?
Well, first of all, realize it's not yet reached its maximum stage. The tail will really begin to develop in the next several weeks, and it will become most impressive along about March or April.
Now, when you talk about the tail developing, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but when you talk about the tail developing, I mean, it's there, isn't it? The tail is developed. It's not as though something additional is going to be added to it.
No. The tail grows larger as the sun gets to, as the comet gets to its closest approach around the sun. It's evaporating. It's basically boiling material away from the cometary nucleus and then forming this long filamentary tail, which stretches out for tens of millions of miles. It's terribly long, but very, very thin. And as a matter of fact, you can even see a star right through it. Now, we happen to have been born, I suppose, at the wrong time. This is the worst sighting in 2,000 years.
Why?
Well, for the comet to be bright requires that it be fairly close to the sun, and secondly, that it be fairly close to us. In this case, neither is true. As a matter of fact, the closest we'll be to Halley's Comet is about 40 million miles, which is quite a ways.
But, Dr. Sagan, we have available to us instruments that clearly were not available 75, 76 years ago. So, in theory, we should be able to get a much better view. I mean, even those of us down here on the ground.
That's right. And the best view will come next March when this remarkable flotilla of 5 spacecraft from 20 nations approaches Halley's Comet, and we'll have a pretty good chance of photographing through the coma, the cloud around the comet, the nucleus, the solid, dirty ice core of the comet that no human being has ever seen heretofore.
You have just, in a couple of words, as you always do, very eloquently raised my next question, and that is, why do I care about a dirty nucleus of frozen matter, whatever it may be?
Right. It sounds much more boring than a harbinger of disaster. But think about comets this way. It's 4.6 billion years ago, something like that. The solar system is in the process of formation, and we're not yet at the stage of planets. The sun is not yet formed, and this part of space is now filled with these condensations that are a few kilometers across and are made mainly of ice with some rocky and organic parts to it. They continue to fall together, some of them making the major planets in the solar system. Some are ejected from the solar system, some impact the planets, and the rest are ejected far beyond the outermost planet Pluto into a vast cloud of 100 trillion cometary nucleus sitting out there in the dark so we can't see them. Every now and then a star passes by, there's a kind of gravitational jostling in the cloud, and a small shower of comets comes booming into the inner solar system. And that's when the comets arrive for our delight. So these are mementos of creation, pieces left over from the origin of the solar system, pristine, primordial matter, and it would be extraordinary to get a close-up look at this stuff from which we formed.
Dr. Berenson, you and I have had the opportunity on this broadcast before to talk about the Big Bang, the origins of our universe. To what degree are we likely to learn anything, then, from this memento of the past, as Dr. Sagan puts it?
A great deal. The possibility is very profound there. What we're really studying is the very material from which we ourselves came. As a matter of fact, in the early days of the solar system, the inner part of the solar system, where the Earth is, may have had many more comets than there are now. They may have impacted on the Earth. As a matter of fact, a quarter to more than half of all the water in our oceans may originally have come from comets. So really what we're studying when we study Halley's Comet this time is ourselves. We are going back to our very beginnings. Halley's Comet was around before we came into being, and it will doubtlessly be here long after life on Earth has perished.
When you say we, obviously you don't mean you and me.
I mean humanoids. I mean life on this planet. And that is a part of the exciting aspect of this, because probably in some intricate, complex way, comets tell a part of the story of the origin of life here on Earth. Whether or not they provided some of the organic material that was essential to the origin of life here is unclear, but they certainly were important to our lives, whether it's through the water, whether it's through the organic material. And they may even tell us something about the possibilities of the existence of life elsewhere.
As I mentioned at the top of this broadcast, there are 5 spacecraft currently speeding out toward a rendezvous with Halley's Comet. And when we come back, which we will do in just a moment, I'd like to ask you why an American spacecraft is not among them. We'll continue our discussion in a moment.
Forget that artsy guy with the beard. Let Rex direct your script.
Forget it.
Look, come on, let
Get
Mike.
We shape today's Mercury Cougar to help it hold the road, no matter which road you choose. Mercury, the shape you want to be in.
So many women, so little time. So come to Sears. For your special holiday party, girls, save 1/3 on the classic look of a dressy velvet blazer. For the model girlfriend, save 1/3 on snuggly robes in lots of colors. And while you're at it, save $5 on a dress shirt for yourself, only $12.99. For everyone you love, there's only one store.
There's more for your life.
Sale ends Saturday.
Go on to Caldor.
I need a new blender.
Oh, fine.
It'll take 2 seconds.
Mhm.
A glass one.
Glass.
White. And don't pay more than...
Okay.
At Caldor, you'll pay only $15.70 for Norelco's ultralight iron with 36-vent sole plate and power safety signal. And Revlon makeup is 25% off, along with Charlie, Jean-Tout, and Scoundrel cologne sprays for $7.99 each.
On sale.
Where's my change?
You'll never not find it at Caldor.
For centuries in England, when a knight offered a lord holiday cheer, what was served?
Schweppes, Oxnard!
Or a lord quenched a duke's thirst?
Schweppes, Huggins!
Or a duke kindled a prince's holiday spirit?
Schweppes, Godfrey!
Why, even today, few hosts entertain thoughts of entertaining during the holidays without Schwepperversons. Schweppes, the great British bubbly.
What'd you buy?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
When you go to Caldor, nothing surprises me. VCR. Okay, Seth.
You'll see.
At Caldor, you'll see Royal's Alpha 600 electronic typewriter with correction memory just $197. And Royal's compact personal copier for plain paper and color copies is on sale for only $599. You'll never not find it at Caldor.
Continuing our discussion now with Dr. Carl Sagan and Dr. Richard Berenson. Either one of you, Dr. Berenson, if you want to pick up on this first, why? I mean, we are among the greatest romantics in the world, and yet there are 2 Japanese spacecraft, 2 Russian spacecraft, the Europeans have got a spacecraft. Why not us?
Very simple answer is money. The Carter administration decided that it cost too much. The Reagan administration reached the same decision. However, those other countries have made the decision to go forward. In terms of historical precedent, the United States, in point of fact, was the first country to have a rendezvous with a comet. We did it just several months ago. It was a rather unsophisticated spacecraft in terms of the ones that are going to meet with Halley's. It was not with Halley's, but we were, in fact, the first country to do so. With respect to learning things from studying Halley's up close, I hope the United States will be able to share information with our scientific colleagues around the world, and that seems to be working rather well. But I wish
and the other way around.
Indeed, both ways.
But Ted, the basic reason given by both the Carter and Reagan administrations is that it would cost too much to have a U.S. probe of Halley's Comet. How much would it cost? It would cost just about the same as a B-1 bomber, of which we are committed to purchase 100. 99 would compromise national security. I think the comparison shows something. There are many other examples of it. of how our priorities are in a warped state.
Well, all right. Now let me ask you to follow up that statement then with some indication of why. Forget the romanticism now, and forget even some of the theology that might be involved here. Why, from a practical point of view, would it serve America's national interest, as clearly the Russians think it serves theirs and the Japanese think it serves theirs, to get a close-up view of this comet?
Because civilizations are known by the great enterprises in which they engage, included among which are the search for our own origins. And as we've been saying, comets are an extraordinary and unique token of our origins, and not just the things we've been talking about up to now. The water from the early oceans, the stuff that made planets, the possibility of organic matter that contributed to the origin of life 4 or so billion years ago. But also, there is now quite good evidence that something like a cometary nucleus, or perhaps an asteroid, struck the Earth 65 million years ago, produced a large cloud of fine debris that blocked the sun, cooled and darkened the Earth, and produced not just the extinction of the dinosaurs, but the extinction of most species of life on Earth at the time. Now, this is of special importance to us.
Kind of a nuclear winter, isn't it?
Very much like nuclear winter, and the physics is quite similar, the difference being that the dinosaurs were not responsible for their own demise. But that event was particularly significant for us because our ancestors of the time, the mammals of the time, were little guys the size of mice, living out of the way of the thundering lizards that dominated the Earth. Only because the competition was removed, probably by this impact, are we here today. So in many different respects, we owe our lives to the comets. And to pick up on the point you just raised, they also come by and raise a timely reminder about how foolish it would be to have a nuclear war, and the possibility that a nuclear war would not just compromise our global civilization, but possibly our species as well.
Dr. Berenson, you take a crack, if you would, at that question of mine, though. Why is it that the Soviets, who are not all that dreamy-eyed about projects like this, who must see something of some immediate value, possibly even strategic or practical value, why two? I mean, wouldn't one do it?
I think it's national prestige, very simply. Halley's Comet is far and away the most important comet in history. It told us a great deal about calculus, about dynamics of physics. It goes all the way back to Newton, indeed all the way back to the ancient Chinese. It's therefore a legendary object. But this is the first time in the history of humankind that we could do something very special. Namely, we could leave our own planet, our cradle, what will ultimately be our grave, but we could travel directly to that Voyager from the far distant reaches of the solar system, and we can study it up close. Therefore, doing so is a momentous historic occasion. You can only do something like that for the first time once. And it was for that reason, I think, that the Japanese, the Soviets, and the Western Europeans elected to do it. The Americans did not, but we will be able to share with our allies and our scientific colleagues in the scientific discoveries.
And your feeling is that we will get what out of it, then? I'm sorry to keep harping on the same theme, but I hear great hope, great generalities. I'm not sure I hear anything terribly practical coming out of it yet. Maybe I'm just being too...
Well, I don't think you're going to get a better frying pan, if that's what you're looking for, but I think...
Not even a Teflon coating? Yeah.
I'm afraid not, but I would say that the electronics that are in your TV camera here and that are in the computers are in large part spin-off from NASA, but that's not really the reason for doing this. What you really learn is more in detail about what a comet is. When the United States had the encounter with the comet back in September, even in that rather preliminary and crude experiment, we found that comets were not nearly so simple as what we'd thought. Most of our preliminary findings from the Earth's surface, in fact, were only rough guidelines. No doubt when we study Halley's up close for the first time, we will discover how much we have yet to learn. Now, what value is there in that? Well, it's all the value of studying where we came from, our origins, our history, and our development. And to many of us, in astronomy at least, that seems profoundly worthwhile.
Let me bring you both back down to earth for a moment. And Dr. Sagan, give those of us who want to take a look, give us a real quick crash course on how and where to look.
Well, the basic point is that the comet is nothing as spectacular as it was in 1910 or will be in 2061 and 2134. If you can hang on for that, that'll be the best one. what you have to do is to get away from the air pollution and the light pollution of cities and look at a time when the moon is new or has set. You also have to know what part of the sky it's in. It does not streak across the sky, of course. It rises and sets with the stars. Now, if you have a pair of binoculars, maybe 7 by 50, something like that, that's absolutely all the instrumentation you need. Although it is a naked eye object, you could see it without the binoculars. Binoculars would help.
We're down to 20 seconds. Where right now? If I walked outside right now...
Southwest. Southwest above the horizon, about an hour and a half to 2 hours after sunset, close to the constellation Aquarius, right above Jupiter.
That's right. And better in March, April from the southern hemisphere.
You are both awfully nice to have joined us this evening. Dr. Sagan, Dr. Berenson, thank you very much. Last night, we focused on the homeless, in particular 2 Chicagoans who had been living on the streets, one with her 5 children. In a moment, we'll respond to the hundreds of phone calls that followed that broadcast.
At 110 miles per hour, engineers find the new Honda Accord LXI hatchback to be quiet and comfortable. At half that speed, you could find it to be twice as quiet and comfortable.
Do I hear 3800? Santa Fe?
AT&T is in antiques. With AT&T Alliance Teleconferencing Service, an antique dealer can easily hold an auction with clients all over the country at the same time, as clear as if they're in the same room.
All right, Chicago, it's yours. Now,
another reason to choose AT&T long-distance services. Talk with us. AT&T, the right choice. As long as a fine quality diamond.
Hi, Christmas shopping?
Yeah, for Mom and Dad.
Well, here come the Ace December Best Buys. The Sparta's AM/FM digital clock radio with a $3 rebate is only $8.66.
For Dad.
The Sunbeam can opener, under counter or wall mount with a $3 rebate costs $8.66.
For Mom.
And the handheld massage shower, just $9.99.
For Mom and Dad.
There are lots of great buys in the Ace $1 billion celebration circular.
Ace is the place for the helpful hardware man.
Cuban advisors in Nicaragua, how up to 2,500 could be leading Sandinista combat troops.
Tomorrow on ABC's World News This Morning.
Before Good Morning America.
Tomorrow, John Cardinal Kroll tells us what was accomplished at the Synod of Bishops Conference at the Vatican, plus William, the Refrigerator Perry on Good Morning America.
Last night, we introduced our viewers to 2 of the nation's homeless, and the reaction was overwhelming. We received literally hundreds of phone calls, all of them voicing concern, many offering help. If you would like to help the charity that came to Jack Graham's aid, you may do so by contacting the Center for Street People, 4455 North Broadway, Chicago, Illinois. The zip, 60640. Donations for the charity that helped Marion Cooper should be sent to Department Parish Community Services, Catholic Charities, 126 North Des Plaines, Chicago, Illinois, and the zip there is 60606. Catholic Charities is an organization that has local offices nationwide, and donations to help other homeless may be made through those outlets. Other groups that distribute charity on a national level are the Salvation Army, 799 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona, New Jersey. The zip is 07044. And the Council of Jewish Federations, 730 Broadway, New York, New York, and the zip is 10003. Tomorrow on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, a report on a trusted baby formula that is suspected of causing brain damage. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us at ABC News, good night.